Hi gamers, SFG here, and we've got another preview video. This time we're taking a look at Mammon, the latest god to be added to the game. So this is in the beta again. It's on version 0.9 in the beta branch. You can get that just by clicking the beta options in the game settings. And let's just take a quick look at Mammon, because he's a very, very interesting and quite a unique god actually. So we're going to press new game here. We're going to go to Mammon, he's the last one. We can just do previous and go straight to him rather than skip through them all, which we'll do. So here he is, Mammon, Wealth of Man, Spirit of the Mountain. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to cover a bit of the lore and a bit of the sort of overview of the mechanics of this god, and then I'm going to cut to some gameplay and I'll show you him sort of his early game, and then I'll cut to some gameplay where I've won with him, hopefully. And I'll tell you what I think of him and how he sort of plays, as it were, just as a sort of a summary really of the god. So, and just before we go any further, actually, this artwork I absolutely love. This artwork here in the middle, that person that's kind of turned to gold. It's such, I really like it. I think it's Megan, is it Megan Wong? It's her best, for me, it's her best art so far in the game. I absolutely love everything about that, and it's interesting because it really does portray this god particularly well, but we'll come on to that now. So Mammon, Wealth of Man, Spirit of the Mountain. So Mammon came into existence when an ancient nation, which fueled its wealth by digging deep into the mountains, held a 7-day long festival to celebrate its prosperity. Unknown to them, the emotions gathered by this festival were the catalyst, the dances and ceremonies working like a ritual, the chants calling to something new. As the festival ended, people looked at their possessions, and where they once found peace in knowing that they'd had enough, they now found pride in having more than others, and pain in knowing others had more than them, consuming them with greed and envy. So that's, Mammon is basically like it's not even personification, it's the spirit, the human sort of reaction to, or I guess civilized races once there's other races added, but for now, the human reaction to greed and envy, and it's such and to wealth really, and it kind of represents the excessive accumulation of wealth or the excessive jealousy of those who have wealth. Really, really interesting, guys. So we'll have a quick look at this, the basics here on the left there. So just here now. So Mammon's influence spreads along trade lines. They're a new mechanic and brings nations under his influence by spreading the constant craving for gold. As the people gain gold, their hunger for it only grows, and they become decadent, losing touch with their humanity and falling into obsession and sin. Mammon has a unique victory, as he can consume his own followers, satiating his greed for the moment. So, a couple of things there to pick apart. Firstly, he's got his, he spreads only along trade routes, okay? And his influence primarily is along those. Secondly, he actually makes nations and societies richer. He makes them more prosperous, and that's a benefit to him and the nation. So it's a bit of a weird one. He's not as destructive of some of the other gods, right? He's not eating them in the case of She Who Will Feast, or turning them insane in the case of Yasta. And I won't spoil what the other ones do, but he's not quite the same as that. He's a bit more subtle in his actions, and they effectively benefit humankind. The only negative really from his ways, if you like, his godly ways, are every so often he calls to the mountain a group of thousands of people, and he consumes them, and if they're consumed they fuel him, but obviously that's not great. He eats them effectively, I assume, turns them into what this chap looks like. So yeah, not the best ending for them, but that's the only negative though. And he certainly, when he wins, the primary way really, you don't destroy humanity, you just kind of go to sleep after having your fill of humans. So it's really quite interesting, guys. The contributing designer here is Florian Keane. I believe that's a gentleman. So thank you to Florian for creating this god. So let's press select and we'll get on to the next screen, have a quick look at this. Details and mechanics then. So Mammon's mechanics revolve around the wealth of the mountain and influence. Okay, the mountain. So the mountain has both menace and profile, and expanding your influence will require you to raise both. Mammon must devour crowds of people under his influence to break his seals rather than breaking them over time. So that's quite unique, right? You don't break seals just by playing the game, going through turns with this god. With Mammon, you must, and I mean must, actively do it. So when you call worshippers to the mountain, you consume them, that gives you more influence, and it unlock seals effectively. It's a really, really interesting mechanic, guys. It's quite a double-edged sword as well. We'll come on to that when we do the gameplay, but it's really interesting. Doing so will increase the mountain's menace, so it'll make heroes more likely to raid the mountain. And that can actually make you lose the game, which we'll come on to in a second. Expanding the influence is then, I think that should say rather than them, is then possible via powers, but increases profile as it does so. These will cause heroes to raid the mountain, stealing Mammon's wealth, although reducing the menace as they do. Alright? So it's a bit of a, like I say, it's a balancing act with Mammon. Powers. Mammon's maximum power and power generation rate corresponds to the number of humans covered by his influence and their prosperity. The more you spread your influence to the wealthy nations, the more powerful you will become. So it's a really interesting thing. You can, as you spread your influence across these trade routes, the more wealthy and the more prosperous and the larger those nations, the more power you have and the more it regenerates, the less it regenerates and the less power you have. So you can actually lose power as you're playing the game, and you can reduce like your maximum power as well as your power at the time. And it does make it really interesting. As you're doing certain things to win the game, you'll actually reduce your power and your maximum power as well, potentially. So it's really quite interesting, guys. Greed and decadence. While under Mammon's influence, rulers will either gain greed or decadence, so one of two sort of personality modifiers, really. The greedy hate the decadent and will either start causing political unrest if they're a duke and under a decadent king or queen, or will start wars if they border a decadent kingdom. If a greedy or decadent ruler starts a war, Mammon can devour their sin to rapidly advance the seal-breaking process. And it is rapid. So if you manage to get, for now I think it's only greedy, but if a greedy ruler starts a war, you can consume their sin, and it like massively progresses your like unlocking, basically. Victory and defeat. Mammon can win a unique victory by devouring enough people, basically, enough followers. So, and by eating sin, of course, as well. So there's a couple of ways you can win with Mammon. You win when he fully awakens and you break the last seal. You win if you can consume enough people to do so. There is also his final spell, power, rather, lets you win the game, but I've never managed to cast that one. And he's defeated, and this is unique, and it's also pretty well. So he'll be defeated if the mountain is ever raided to the point where there's no wealth, right? So the mountain has X percentage of wealth. The maximum is obviously 100. Might not be obvious actually, but the maximum is 100. And every time a hero raids the location, they'll take 10%. So let's say you've got 20% wealth. It gets raided once, you'll have 10%. If somebody raids it again, it goes to 0. You lose the game. I've actually lost him about 3 or 4 times, and I've not been paying attention. And it's unique. I've very rarely lost a game with any god, so it's I think it's quite well balanced in that respect. It's also quite difficult because you're spreading, and the more that you spread actively reduces your it's a true risk, if you like. It increases the menace and profile and puts you more at risk, so it reduces the chance of you winning the game, if that makes sense. The more you proceed and the more you progress through spreading your influence, the more you'll see that the heroes actively try and fight against you, and they become quite, as I say, if they're raiding your mountain quite often, it becomes quite a pain. And it's also, you can't manipulate personalities as easily as you can. You can fight very little bit, but you can't as easily as you can with gods like Iasta. So you can have some characters go insane and what have you, and they can actually be a bit of a problem. So if an insane hero becomes obsessed with danger, for example, they're more likely to raid your mountain. I think it probably needs to be balanced and tweaked a little bit more. It's a bizarre when you finish, because you end the game with like 30% victory and 30-odd% world panic. It's really, really peculiar, because you're not trying to destroy things, right? With Mammon, that's the key thing here. You're not trying to destroy, you're trying to play off of wealth, prosperity, and the lack of wealth and prosperity. And what will happen is, undoubtedly in the Mammon playthrough, I think, humanity will go to war with itself, because it covets obviously the wealth. It looks at its neighbours, it sees more wealth and it wants it, and it's quite realistic in that sense, but it starts to go to war for wealth. So you'll have one society or multiple societies that are wealthy. You'll have one location or multiple locations that have got greed, they're not as wealthy, and you can influence this quite heavily. And then they'll end up going to war, right? So now let's cut to the game, guys, and we'll see this in action. So I'll cut to it now, and we'll see how we get on in the early game. And then I'll cut ahead, and we'll do the very start of the game real quick, just to show you this. So what you want to do is you look at your mountain, you look at the trade routes, we're pressing number 9 on your key, that's the default, or you go through these various, it's not here, so yeah, it would have to be 9. You can recruit an agent. I won't worry about that too quickly, to be honest. You look at your trade routes, and you go, right, what's under my influence? This symbol means it's under the influence there, Mammon's influence, that gold nugget type symbol. No, no. Oh, it looks like we haven't got many places under our influence at all. We've got one, which is good. But what you would do is, and it's a capital, which is great, right? So what we'd do here is we'd go, right, use power. This is the first thing, call the mountain. You call this mountain, this lets you spread your influence further. So these 24 people will eventually get to me. I'll show you it, in fact, let's just skip ahead. In terms of your supplicant, new art and new traits. So you've got priceless gift, when it's first acquired, gain an artifact level item, best items. Wealth creator, when in a human settlement under Mammon's influence, gain 3 gold per turn. That's quite good. Or you can have 200 gold. Obviously good, right? Let's do this one, because I like priceless gifts. Exquisite mask, it's not the best one. Much less profile, but more menace. This suck right, in my opinion. So what we're going to do here, we're going to go to here, we're going to infiltrate, we're going to hope this comes to us. Let's just skip ahead a bit, yes, yada yada yada. It takes a little while, they don't move 1 per turn, as you can see, they're a bit slower than that. So 1,000 of the 24,000 are dismissed. Surging Rue, I suspect it comes off the command, yeah, probably. Trying to get them not to join us in the mountain. We're too late, they've got there, 23. Called to the mountain, they get eaten. This is what happens. Like, a crowd of people have reached the mountain and got inside to be devoured by Mammon. 23 progress has been made towards breaking seals, that's pretty good. So we can move, I think it's every 10 progress, if you like, you get more influence. So we can go 2 more locations along trade routes now. And it tells you the wealth, 7%, 46 menace and 13 profile, and we're going to lose 3% per turn of both. Right? So what you do is you dismiss that. We've got a distraction, seal, great. And like as you see, that unlocked a seal now and gave us power. So what we would then do is we'd use power. It's 0 cost, grow influence. Oh yeah, diversity is 0, look. Grow influence here, so we could choose to go here. That's the only one. Select. Where's the trade routes? And let's go to another city. You want to focus cities because they've got higher populations. That means more people will come to your mountain. And then you want to do call the mountain again on a city, right? Because they're bigger population centres. Let's just check this, 40, and this is... Yeah, look, it was 82 by the looks of things. Now you've got to balance. Prosperity and habitability, etc. will increase the population. So you've got to balance. Don't eat them too much because you can seriously mess up a place. But again, these will come to us. What's this? Do you know who I am? Okay, whatever. It's not a bad thing. So they're coming to us. They're going to try and be talked out by this mediator, Orc Slayer rather. Save the crowd. What's the... Yeah, it's a command task. Look, it's green, right? Menace, preference, cooperation, okay. So the crowds get their own menace. She's convinced 3. Go to that. Let's do this now. Infiltrate the sewers, whatever. CC, look, I would never want to... Intrigue, whatever. I'd never want to start a plague ever in this area, right? Because if I do, potentially... Well, it would hurt this location in terms of my use for it, because it reduces population, potentially destroy it, and then I can't, A, influence, it reduces my power, and B, I can't feed off them. So, that kind of stinks for me. Another one, 0,000, okay, well, I'm not bothered about that. Are they going to come? Yeah, here's okay, I'm not bothered about that. Oh, Mammon does scale well with orcs, guys, actually, out of interest, because obviously the money, he's got tons of money, so he does well with orcs. So now look, I've got some more food, Yellow for Jobby, 19, added to my other 20, whatever it was, gives me another 2 locations, and then you again. Got some more seals here. I'll skip to these properly, guys, and go through them in more detail in a second once I've a lot more of them, but give Bruce prosperity, take reduces it basically, right? In areas that are controlled by Mammon. So we go to 9 again, we look at the trade routes. So I've gone I can go here, another city, sweet, eventually a thing. I could go... The capital is what I meant to say there. Or I could go and then a capital. Why wouldn't I? So let's do that. Capitals are even better. So grow influence. Select. Grow influence. And look, my power's going to increase. Why can't I go here? Oh, it must loop that way. Okay, fair. Okay. Power hasn't increased. Curious. It must be again based on population. So when I get this one, it would. So I could take some food from the village. Some people. Sorry, food. How rude. So I could take. So that's on the art of Mammon. I could, I could do Call of the Mountain again on this, again on this if I wished, on this city if I wished. And 96, 65. So I wouldn't do it on this city until it's built up a bit more. 40, 40. You're kind of desperate if you're doing it on these locations, in my opinion, but you can do if you wish. Oh, I should have gone this way, look, to here. To here, really. I didn't realise there's this valley in the way. It can't travel through empty locations, of course, because, people need to be spending money in there. But yeah, as I say, you can. So what I could do is, if I will do it, you got to make sure you're using this Call the Mountain, guys. Unless somebody's decadent and at war, but I don't think there's not going to be anybody decadent. They're miles away. So, and we can see there's no war around here. That comes a bit later. So to Call the Mountain, we're going to do it on this city because it's right next to us. It's a good chunk, and we're going to do it again. Call the Mountain. This is sort of your early game with Mammon, really. Do it on the closest one, so it doesn't. Only small, look, only 10. Again, we skip through. There we are, so we ate someone. We didn't get any power from that one, which is a bit of a shame. That's with the tenner. These are going to come in. Here we are. They've gone up. So we've got now 5%, 116 minutes, 32 profile. The wealth is 73%, not bad. Dismiss. We've got more. Right? So we've got more seals. Another seals unlocked. We have less total power, I believe. Let's have a look here. Yeah, so it's the more human population you have under your influence and the higher prosperity they have. So you need to get those, you need to keep the population up. So again, we use power, grow influence. Here we go, capital look. Still not 3, shocking. Be gutted about that, to be honest. Do it again. Do it there, still not 3, are you kidding me? There we are, now it's 3, right, because we've got so many more. Now look, she's ready, she's going to take 10 wealth, but it's pennies, like, I've got 73. Do you know what I mean? It's, they'd have to do it 7, 8 times to destroy me. It's going to take forever. So guys, that's kind of a very, very early game in my mind. You want to be spreading your influence, getting power, using it to grow more influence, continue. Then soon enough, wars will kick off. I'll cut back in a bit and we'll see about these wars kicking off and see what's happened here in a second. Okay guys, so something to be aware of real quick. I'm going to cut to a later point when I've got a few more seals broken. As you can see here, I've got 3 of 7 broken. I've got 24 more to go, but sometimes you have to progress via water and it kind of stinks, or otherwise void tiles, right? So water or wastes like this. You sometimes have to just follow it because that's where the trade route is, which kind of stinks. But you need to do it to just spread your influence. So if you watch this here, you have to grow influence. You're going to have to follow this. Now I think, hopefully, so I can go this to here, or I can go this city here. I'm going to pick the biggest one, I think. 116, that's decent. 60, okay, easy choice. So use power or grow influence here on the Dormatis Deeps. And then we'll do it on this one. There we are. And then we finally got back onto land so we could start doing a bit more spreading on the land there. But it's, yeah, so just be aware of that, guys. Sometimes you have to spread your influence over the water or over otherwise empty tiles, and it is a bit lame. Anyway, we'll cut back in a bit when I've got a few more of these seals unlocked, and we'll see how we're getting on. I'll show you some of the more, we'll go through the powers in a bit more detail. Okay guys, so I've won the game here with Mammon now. I'm, as you can see, 456 turns into the game, so a fairly long one. I could have won a bit earlier, I could have won a bit sooner if I wished, but I've decided to not rush this particularly. You can see the world map here at a glance. We're going to zoom in a little bit so you can see some of these symbols, but long and short of it is I've travelled to every trade route. Here are the trade routes. We've gone to literally all of them. So our influence is everywhere, I believe. He says. Oh my gosh, don't tell me I didn't go to somewhere. Mammon's influence. Did I forget these 2 locations? Well, we could do that now. We've got plenty of grow influence. And this is probably the best way to do it, to be honest, guys, on this tab so you can see everything easier. But he is a very, as I sort of said earlier, really quite an interesting and quite a unique god is Mammon. So we'll just zoom in a touch here. Yeah, I think that's all of them now. There we are, they're all influenced. Anyway, so we've gone through all the trade routes. Double check this. Yeah, we've gone through all the trade routes, and it's a really interesting god is Mammon. So as you can see, the shadow spread, this is all natural, really just from existing by the tomb. I almost lost quite a few times actually, having heroes raid the mountain. Eventually I got towards the mid game, I managed to stop that just by virtue of having too much for them to do. A couple of things in my mind. As you can see, my power is only 0 out of 5 here, but it's only out of 5. It could be a lot higher. The basis for the maximum here is of how many nations and prosperous locations, forgive me, that you've got under your influence, and they will naturally destroy each other, so it's a real flux. I never saw it go above 6, and his final power that I'll show you now is 7, so it's quite, I think that's very difficult to get to. Generally with Mammon you want to use your powers, and some of them are free, some of them are quite expensive, so you actually want to, I think, have a dedicated, this is what I did towards the late game, I had a warlock dank here, dedicated to just doing blasphemous rituals from a desecrated holy site, and it worked really well in terms of allowing me to do more things with my power. But let's have a look at the powers real quick. So you start with Grow Influence. I think you get Devour Sin pretty much straight away or very soon after. Oh no, Call of the Mountain you start with as well. These two. Call of the Mountain is what you use to bring, and it costs 1, as you can see, 1 power, but it's what you use to bring people, as you know. We saw it in the first one, right? So we saw it earlier rather, so you know it brings people to you. It's how you grow your sort of how far you can spread your influence. Distraction is brilliant. This is 1 cost. The only limitation to this is that you need an agent with 40 gold, which isn't too difficult for Mammon. So you tend to, I would suggest infiltrating a lot of places and then just robbing them blind as you need to. But yeah, so what happens is with this, and it can be used on the Chosen One as well, by the way, you cast it on one of your agents who's got 40 gold and they're in a location that's under your influence, and it just disrupts every hero there for 3 turns. It's incredibly powerful, guys. I use this to just freeze a Chosen One who's trying to redeem a ruler for like literally about 100 turns. I just kept stopping him doing it. It was incredibly powerful. The other primary use of this, I think, is when heroes try to raid the mountain. So when they're trying to raid the mountain, you can cast that, and then you can cast Distraction and it'll stop them, obviously. But it is very, 1 power is quite costly for Mammon. That certainly as I played, he doesn't get a ton of power generation as quickly as gods like Iasta, for example. It's a bit slower, a fair bit slower. Give and Take are another 2 key powers here. So one of them increases prosperity by 20% up to a maximum of 100. One of them reduces. You want to use these to make nations go into greed or decadence, basically. So you can see here, this has got greed, that hand symbol. Greed, look at 100. I actually gave to here, unfortunately, or by accident perhaps, but if you keep giving, it will generally increase decadence, so that's what you want to do for... Some means they're becoming corrupted by the wealth. Greed makes them more likely to go to war, and they get jealous of those who have decadence, right? So, Feng Village, look. If I kept giving to this would eventually get decadence, I believe, or this one would, and they'd be likely to go to war with it. If you give decadent societies and greedy societies are more likely to go to war with each other. This city and location here, what's this called? Kingdom of Quinn Hanged, was going to war with this kingdom all the time because they had more, basically, and they were greedy, right? As you can see, look how many nations there are, guys, how many little nations here. They're split up so quick due to this infighting. Anyway, let's quickly go back to the powers. So Give and Take a key, you want to use them to play nations against each other, but don't use Take too much because it will reduce your power gen. The less a nation has, the less power you generate, I believe. You've got Call of Wealth, which is similar to Call of the Mountain, except it will call people to a wealthy location, which again could be good, so you're playing off that greed mechanic. So I kept calling people, for example, to here, City of Datai, that was only 1 space away from the mountain, right? So I'd call them to there, the population would go right up, and then I'd just eat them, basically call them from there to here. Although I didn't realise this when I did it earlier, but when you call a a group, if they've got to travel through locations under Mammon's influence, they actually gain more people. So you can start with say a 10 sized group of people being called to the mountain from here, and as they travel through other locations, they'll pick up more and more and more, and it could be like 30 by the time it gets to you, especially if they go through towns. So that can be quite an interesting thing too. Plutomania is really good as well. It's expensive, but it's good. It makes a ruler obsessed with gold, like fully obsessed with. That very much leads into the infighting and the civil wars and so on. I saw a lot of civil wars while playing as Mammon, guys. That's fairly normal, but that leads directly into it. A gift from the mountain is an interesting thing. It basically gives 150 gold to an agent, but it costs 10% of that wealth, so it is risky, right? When you've got a lot of wealth, you can go for it. When you've got less, and when you're being attacked when the heroes are raiding the mountain, you want to obviously lay off it, because if that drops to 0, you're gone, you're finished, right? And they take 10% each time. I wish it was a bit more dynamic, to be honest. I'd prefer it if they took some function of their command or might or something, just a bit different to make it so it wasn't always 10%, because it does make it a fair bit risky. And obviously, well, not obviously, but as we did see earlier, when the crowds are going to the mountain, they don't necessarily add 10%, they add 30% and 13% or what have you. So yeah, I wish it was a bit more of a function, but something for laser perhaps. Danger in the mountains, a late game power that I got. I didn't use it too much, but it increases the danger by 5, as you can see, of the mountain. You probably won't need this. I didn't need this much, to be honest, when I got there, but it's something you can do. Embrace of metal, is interesting. I don't think it's worth 5, to be honest, 5 power. So it basically makes I've done this in a few places, but it makes an army that just automatically attacks another army that comes into it, I believe. Let's have a look at this. Yeah, so eventually the arm will fuse to the body, yada yada yada. Acts as an army which attacks all human forces who approach. Can be prevented via quest, can be destroyed via an enemy army as well. So it's an interesting thing, this, because I don't see the point in it, to be honest. It doesn't stop heroes coming in. I thought if I made an army there, an army there, an army there, armies around the mountain, it would stop any heroes being able to approach, but it doesn't. And it also, I'm not sure if it destroys the city, but it certainly looked like it destroyed the ruins of the city of Wrong to me when it came into being. It may not, but that's how it seemed. I did have one, or I'm getting one here. No, I did have one here. That disappeared. I think this is getting one. It's miles away though, so we're not going to sit and wait. Oh, it's not too far. 11 turns? 10 turns? Oh no, sorry. 5 turns. Let's just skip through. We'll see if it does destroy it, but... Okay, has it made it yet? 2 more turns. Dismiss. Let's have a look. I'm a populace, yeah, so it's... Oh no, next turn, sorry. Okay, mate, just do it again. Let's do blasphemous rituals, there you are. Has it done it? Yeah, 20, but it's got this one, so they're just going to go into... They're going to immediately scrap, and this could be lost. It hasn't destroyed the settlement by the location, but it has taken population look, so I think it took 20 population to create this. Interesting to know, what's the function of the... Doesn't say, but that's obviously a function, presumably, of the location. I think I've done it here as well. No. Here? No. Well, anyway, it's some function of the population, I think, but it can just be aware it can literally destroy it, so don't be too keen like I was here. And in fact, like I said, I don't see the value. Or they'll stop armies. I mean, they're good for forts, but I mean... Right, okay, so what? I mean, they don't stop heroes. Their armies very rarely threaten the mountain, it feels like. I saw one army come here and raise, but it didn't seem to actually do anything, so... Yeah, a bit confused about that. Anyway, that's 1 power. I wouldn't bother with this. All is mine I can't cast because I've never got 7 power and I've literally done every trade route, so I need to make everywhere more prosperous, and I couldn't see a way of doing that realistically without winning the game first. So this, I think, will be useful on much bigger maps, much larger maps, or when you're... basically on larger maps with more trade routes, but for now it's not massively useful, guys. All is mine, and I don't really see it. Probably needs to be a 6 cost. 6 seems to be the magic number with Mammon rather than 7. And basically what it does, it as it says there, begins final feeding. It starts to win you the game, basically, or continue. All settlements will start to lose population and head towards him. And do they even head towards him? I've never seen it, so I'm not sure. But either way, they'll lose population. I think it will slowly generate win condition. So what I did to win the game, basically, with Mammon is I unlocked all his seals. How I did that is I kept feeding on the locations slowly but surely, and then they started going to war, which is great. That's far superior. So when they go to war, greedy societies. I was trying to get this one to go to war. Actually, they never did, but I was trying to get this one to go to war. Combat, cruelty, and ambition. As you can see, I've been doing some Hierophant work. But when they go to war, you can then do a power called Devour Sin, which is really key, guys. It's free, as you can see here. Gives you 100 souls. That's massive. That's like 10 spaces you can move for trade routes. I've never seen a crowd 100 large, so that's really, really useful. You do that, and then fingers crossed, you'll keep unlocking your seals, and eventually, once you've unlocked the final one, you win. Simple as that. And it's quite cool when Mammon wins, because he doesn't destroy everything. He's just like, okay, I'm happy, I'm going to bed. He goes back to sleep for a bit, so that's quite interesting too. But yeah, a really interesting god, guys. He's quite unique in the way he plays. Give him a go if you're on the beta. He'll be releasing whenever this is sort of finalised into the main branch soon, I would assume anyway, probably in a couple of weeks. So give him a go, have a fun play with him. He is quite different. He's quite difficult, but in a strange way. Like, agents are much less destructive. I don't know, it doesn't feel like you're playing this evil god. It feels like you're playing sort of a just a force, really. You're just trying to exploit humanity's own weaknesses, really. So yeah, give it a go, see how you get on, guys. Hopefully you'll have some fun with him. I certainly had a lot of fun with him. It feels very thematic. He's very much about making people greedy, envious, jealous, decadent, and then using that to exploit your own aims, right? And they're fairly evil. But yeah, that's pretty much how he plays and what he's all about. So the whole Civil War thing is really, really interesting and really thematic, I think, and really fitting. And obviously the world does get covered in these gold symbols, which is pretty cool as well. Even orc camps, everything, they all get covered in it. So yes, guys, thank you very much for watching, as always. I hope you've enjoyed this preview video. Apologies, it's a day late. You can probably hear my voice. I'm a little bit sniffly today, so sorry about that. Next we'll probably be looking at well, we'll see. We might be looking at a new game. I'm not fully decided, but I might bring Carrion into the fold to do a quick first look at that. But we'll continue to cover Shadows. I'll probably do Shadows coverage on Saturdays. Well, certainly at least once a week anyway. So continue to look out for that, guys. Obviously, vote if you haven't already for the god that you want to see me play next. If you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe, guys. YouTube tells me that something like 72% of my subscribers, I might try and bring this on the screen actually to show you guys, but yeah, like 72% of my watch time is from non-subscribed people. So please do subscribe if you get the chance. It really, really does help the channel. I'm trying to get to 1,000, guys, because it's quite a big number for YouTube. So any support on that would be very, very much appreciated. Hit the like button, comment if you would, that'd be great as well, and let me know what you want to see next in terms of this game, or indeed any game if you'd like me to play something else. As always, thank you for watching, and hopefully I'll see you on the next video.